Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video where today we return with round 9 of our F123 My Team Career Mode. Yes, we're back this weekend for the Canadian Grand Prix. We've managed to catch up real life Formula 1 in less than a week, so I think we've done quite well in that regard. But of course, yeah, if you missed out on yesterday's video from the all new and improved Barcelona circuit, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But yeah, heading to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, of course, the real life Grand Prix later on today. Really looking forward to it, actually. Of course, you know, Max Verstappen on pole, that's not so much of a surprise, but some big surprises up and down the field, and of course some grid penalties as well before we dive into that race later on. And of course, knowing will be back as well next week, obviously, to discuss the antics from the weekend action as well. But yeah, today though, obviously heading into Circuit Gilles Villeneuve as well. Of course, if you're new around here and you don't want to miss out on any of the videos from this series, please make sure you drop a subscribe and click that bell notification so you don't miss out any videos. Of course, as mentioned before, daily F123 My Team until we win that World Championship. And so far, we've had some ups, we've had some downs, but we're making good progress. Now, heading into this weekend, though, we need to continue. We've actually got a little bit of money that we can try and spend on some upgrades to the team's facilities. So I think what we're going to do is really start looking now at the resource point generation. Of course, means that we can try and get upgrades onto the car quicker and quicker. So yeah, we're going to try and go with that. Only 500 R&D, though, as we head into the weekend. As you can see, we are lagging behind ever so slightly, but two big upgrades are waiting in the wings as well. So yeah, need to just continue trying to put as many upgrades onto the car as we possibly can. We should be able to get a couple more upgrades on this weekend if all runs smoothly during free practice. Well, I must admit, I do always love coming back to Montreal on the F1 calendar. Such a fun circuit, and of course, some fairly major changes as well made to this venue in recent years. Luckily, however, F123 hasn't implemented the ridiculous wall on the runoff here down at Turn 1 and Turn 2, as I almost lock up and find out where that wall would be located. Always the right way to start a weekend session. Running our way through the final couple of corners then. First lap not going to be perfect, but not too disappointing either. 425 points, agonisingly close to the purple score. And you know what, we're going to have to go for it, because we desperately need the R&D. There we go, end of the second lap, 455 points that time round. Our first purple score to kickstart the weekend. Well, unfortunately, again, we've got another qualifying sim run program as our third option for the weekend, so yeah, we're going to have to try and complete the race sim run once again, but, I mean, yeah, there's no real point in trying the qualifying sims, to be honest, is there? We've seen it before, we'll see it again. They're just ridiculous, as braking very early into that chicane, apparently. I mean, I'm taking a lot of curb to combat that, but not really the line I should be taking. Well, I've noticed as well, then, some wear on the ICE, so I might have to take some grid penalties as we jump into the rest of the weekend's action. Looks like, yeah, it is only the ICE. Might be worth putting a new MGU-H in as well, of course, because Canada is a very power-orientated circuit, but yeah, just got to be very careful. Of course, Season 1, you know, we're bound to take a lot of penalties. Durability is never particularly a strong point at the start of the F1 game, but purple score then to finish off our race sim run. Let's make those changes and let's get into qualifying. Well, here we are then. Sunny Saturday from Montreal is something the drivers couldn't say yesterday during qualifying. But for us, well, the rain is meant to roll in later on during the session, so we'll wait and see as to how that changes things. Or, to be honest, if we make it that far into qualifying, obviously a Q1 exit yesterday out in Barcelona was a little bit disappointing. But yeah, we're just waiting to try and get those next big upgrades on the car. Of course, you know, it is such a development arms race between some of the slower teams as we all try and push towards that midfield. But yeah, we've just got to see what we can do, keep doing what we're doing, Just try to pick up results where we can, of course. It's Season 1. It does take time. Lando Alonso sets the benchmark then on an 11.4, and Aston Martin have absolutely been a team that have been a little bit disappointing so far this season. Maybe they can try and claw it back at the team owner's home GP as well. That is not the line through the final chicane. We definitely lost a lot of time in the process, though. Charles Leclerc, an 11 flat, and up towards the line then. First lap's been ruined. It's at 12.7. Somehow still quicker than De Vries and Fittipaldi. We're about to start our final run then here in Q1, right at the back of the train there. Every single car heading back out onto the circuit, so I think we're all expecting track conditions to continue improving. You can see the clouds rolling in from the right-hand side there, so rain definitely going to be a feature later on in this session, but we've just got to try and get a lap actually hooked up this time round. Try and see how much we can improve by. Not expecting, to be honest, to make Q2. See how much closer we can get. Charles Leclerc 10.7 as we're only 2/10 up at the moment, but it was really the final couple of corners, of course, where we lost bags of time there. De Vries on a 12.1. That roughly, I think, has got to be the kind of time we're aiming for. Us again, just missing our braking point through the final corner there. We slapped the wall of champions on the exit. We're still going to find a 7/10 improvement. Is that Q2? We're going to be very, very close. I think we're P18. So, yeah, just could not find the braking marker into that final chicane. Go then, Charles Leclerc fastest by just 0.06 of a second ahead of Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. There, Alonso getting in the mix this weekend, so maybe Aston Martin looking a little bit stronger. But a 10th away from Q2. We should have absolutely been making it through into that second session then. I kept braking at the 100-meter board rather than just before it, believing the car was going to grip up there. Lando Norris, a nightmare weekend for him so far. He's going to be lining up last on the grid, but I feel like we got a little bit more pace than we showcased in qualifying. Let's get in then here to the Canadian Grand Prix. Before we jump into that though, I want to talk about today's video sponsor, Headout. We all want to go to Formula 1 Grand Prix in 2023, but ticket prices seem to always be increasing. Headout offer the best prices available to every single Grand Prix on the 2023 calendar, and I've partnered up with them to try and spread awareness to you all. Click the link down in my description below and you'll be taken to their offers page, and if you use my unique code MAT30, you'll get an extra 30% off when you purchase. You also help support the channel in the process. Headout are a trusted seller and offer some of the best seats available for Formula 1 races, so a massive thank you to them, and let's get back into the video.
Here in Montreal, Lights Out is quickly approaching on this artificial island originally built for the World Fair in 1967. Now it's used for a World's Fair of a different kind, ever since Formula 1 first arrived here. We're back in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix. If you want flat-out racing, you've come to the right place this weekend, as it's full throttle for 59% of this 2.7-mile circuit, peaking at around 210 miles per hour going into the final chicane. But that speed requires discipline, and there are more than a few close walls here just waiting to punish drivers with a heavy right foot. Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. It's Sergio Perez on pole today, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Fernando Alonso, Sainz, Russell, Gasly, Hamilton, Stroll, Ocon, Bottas, Zhou, Oscar Piastri, Albon, Hulkenberg, Tsunoda, Magnussen, Mr. Monaco, De Vries, Sargent, Fittipaldi, Sargent. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out then. Let's see who can prevail today. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, the regulations aren't new anymore, but the teams and the drivers are still coming to terms with them. I firmly believe it's also track specific. We've seen some wheel-to-wheel racing throughout the year. Some tracks lend themselves better to it than others. I'd like to see it at every race in the whole season. Is that too much to ask?
But it can never be too much to ask for Natalie Pinkham, especially as he said exactly the same thing last weekend. But here we are then, on the grid, ready for the Canadian Grand Prix, and immediately I'm going on to a two-stop here. Always have felt like Canada, even on the older F1 games when tyre wear wasn't, or tyre drop-off wasn't such a big thing, the two-stop was incredibly viable around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Now, that might mean that we try and do a double soft stint towards the end of the afternoon. So I think, yeah, if we go 10, 24, 35, that might work out quite nicely for us. But, yeah, two stops around here, I think, are going to be the way to go. Of course, very, very real possibility of safety cars as well. But you can see, yeah, Magnussen on the hards, myself on the softs, Nick de Vries on the mediums. No one really knows what they're doing. Here we are, though, on the grid, ready for the Canadian Grand Prix, waiting on those 5 red lights. And it's lights out, and away we go then. Of course, softer tyres hopefully will provide a bit of a grip advantage as we head down towards turn 1. Alex Albon struggling to get away, and Kevin Magnussen just blocking me off there. We'll try and have a look around the outside through turn 1 and turn 2. They're muscling to the inside of, I think that's Yuki Tsunoda. And you know what? We've actually had a pretty decent start there, as we needed. We've got to be aggressive on this opening lap 1 there. Look at Yuki trying to hang the nose around the outside there. Going to Constantino up massively behind me off the exit the first couple of corners. But we have survived. And yeah, we need to use these soft tyres as best as possible here in the early laps there. Zhou Guanyu just in front of us. This looks like, I think, Charles Leclerc, who started on the front row, has dropped now back behind Sergio Perez on this opening lap there as we wind our way through all of the chicanes. We made 3 places, Mark. That start was better than okay in my mind. There's plenty of Constantino and up down at the hairpin. That certainly hasn't left F123. As Zhou Guanyu then will be forced to surrender P14 then. 4 places gained on this opening lap. But yeah, this race is going to be potentially quite a weird one to predict what's going down then. It's now all over the back of Nico Hülkenberg, of course the star of Real Life Saturday in F1, but then picked up a grid penalty anyway, so it was all for nothing. Perez leads the way, though, at the end of the first lap, so mega start by the Red Bull. He must have gone from 3rd all the way up to 1st then, so a brilliant job done by him there, as Ocon, I think, and Lance Stroll there going side by side, just everyone behind them forced to back up once more, so around the outside of Nico Hülkenberg will try and go. We'll be on the outside for turn 3 as well, and yeah, not enough grip round there. We'll just back out of that one for now, as back end swinging around like a pendulum behind us, but we make sure the back end doesn't overtake the front. Bottas and Stroll still side by side then. That's going to leave us with even more Constantino and up. As you can see there, I think, yeah, one of the other cars able to break free, and we're 2 wide down in towards the hairpin, 3 wide almost, as I think that was Zhou Guanyu trying to replicate the move I did on him. Yellow flags out. Someone's got issues a little bit further back. Seems like it's all sorted itself out, so I'm thinking, just again, cars backing up and potentially picking up damage off each other, as down the inside Nico Hülkenberg will go in towards the final chicane. Surely the Haas isn't going to be able to do anything there on the outside, and you know what? We won't really give him much of a say on the matter. Car feeling a little bit loose and lively around this venue early on, as more yellow flags out. DRS has been enabled. Someone, I think, might be having issues. Is that the AlphaTauri? I think it is Yuki Tsunoda, I want to say, going slowly. And yep, Tsunoda out of the Canadian Grand Prix there for the 2nd year in a row. Of course, binned it on pit exit in 2022. Well, I don't know if it's the car setup or just the circuit, but yeah, the car feeling very, very loose and lively around this venue, more than I've really felt it pretty much all season, to be honest. Struggling a little bit just to try and keep in touch with Oscar Piastri in front of us, just again able to hang on, whoa, to that DRS there. It was the first time we've locked the rear brakes in this race, but yeah, got to be careful. I know I say it pretty much every race so far this season, got to be careful on those tyres. Maybe this might explain as to why none of the AI have gone on to softs then early on, because it does already feel like these tyres are starting to melt a little bit. Of course, I only really want to try and get into the end of lap 10 there, as I don't... Oh no, of course, there's no DRS detection, is there? Down at the final couple of corners. That's annoying. So we might now properly lost the DRS to Oscar. So here comes Nico Hülkenberg down the inside at the hairpin. He's going to be very, very clever with it, though. Not get past me until the DRS detection point, and yeah, definitely these soft tyres weren't feeling like the wisest choice early on. I mean, even if we have to double medium towards the end, that's not too bad. Clearly the AI are hanging on all right with their mediums. Again, here comes Nico, and he's going to make it side by side through the final chicane there. We just have to kind of sit on the outside, slap the wall on the exit, and third time's a charm. Then Nico Hulkenberg finally makes it by. Got the Williams of Alex Albon as well waiting in the wings. But yeah, we're going to be diving in not too long. Let's just try and stay with Nico Hulkenberg. Well, at least Nico Hulkenberg clearly not able to break away from me at the moment. Getting very, very close to the gearbox of the Haas through the final couple of turns. Maybe even just a little bit too close. That's been happening since about lap 4 mark, but hey-ho, into the pits we'll dive in though at the end of this lap. So we've got to try and hang close enough to Nico that we can slipstream past him down the back straight. Right, here we go then. End of lap 10, still all over the back of Nico Hulkenberg. Of course, we can afford to use a little bit more battery as we head down this back straight. And Nico, even better. Thank you very much, mate. Round the outside we'll go on the Haas. Make sure we get the car slowed down into the pit lane. Thanks, Mark. Love the support as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, though. The next few laps, we're going to have to really try and push and see if we can close up to the back of Oscar Piastri and that whole gaggle of cars. Is nice and tidy on pit entry. Hopefully we get a nice, clean, tidy stop. No! Someone on the rear right there has held us up. 4.8 seconds. We've got even more work to do. Oh, left rear, okay. Well, let's hope we don't get that again on our second stop, but let's just keep pushing. I'm trying to be very, very careful, making sure I'm not overdriving the car early on this second stint. Again, you have got to be very, very regimented on F123. There's Xi still chucking it through the final chicane, but gaps of the cars in front is coming down. But it was really still a question of whether we can get up to that gaggle that are hovering on the precipice of the top 10. Bit of a lock-up down at 1. That won't do us any favours. Oh, there we go. Nico Hulkenberg, I think, into the pit lane then. So we should get a rough idea as to whether we've jumped him. I mean, looking at the delta, I'd absolutely like to think we have. Hulkenberg, yeah, we're going to be a fair old way ahead of him then. That's good. I mean, basically, of course, we want to be close to the gearbox of Fittipaldi before, obviously, he pits in, because then, effectively, we've made back up that pit stop, and we can enjoy fresher rubber to the end of the race. We've actually got a big jump on Hulkenberg, who also appears to be two-stopping, so that's quite interesting. Well, I know I've had some questions as to why I haven't dropped Fittipaldi already. The honest answer is I can't yet. I've got to wait for the contract renewal at the halfway stage of the season, which if I think will either be after Silverstone or after the next race after that. But anyway, yeah, we have already closed it to the back then of Fittipaldi in this race. He must be pitting in within the next couple of laps, I would assume, but the fact we've already got round him is a pretty promising sign for us, but way too late, though, down at the final chicane. But we will complete the move, I think is the accurate way to describe it. Yeah, this two-stop not looking like a bad choice. I mean, really now, the question is, though, how quickly can we make it through the gaggles of cars in this GP? That was all over the back of Logan Sargent. A little bit worried the fact Norris has seemingly made next to no progress here. Is still stuck behind Nick de Vries down the inside of the American, and Nick de Vries there just running a little bit wide off the corner. Surely we can out-traction Lando Norris then, and yeah, maybe Nick de Vries is actually going to help me out a little bit here then, as we're going to have to use plenty of battery though. De Vries is going to try and block Lando Norris, 3 wide almost, as we head down in towards the final chicane there, as we'll try and get around the outside, just so I kept it between the white lines as well in the process as Fittipaldi dives into the pit lane. But yeah, we're doing okay here. This strategy is really falling to us. Right, Kevin Magnussen then, of course, one of the only drivers who started this race on the hard compound tyres, so he should be staying out for just a couple of laps longer. But yeah, definitely want to try and get around him there as more and more cars peeling into the pit lane. So Magnussen now up into 11th, but hopefully for about 5 seconds as down the inside we'll go. And that's really good then, because of course Magnussen is probably going to be going on a set of mediums to the end just like myself. So we've actually got a very good jump. Yeah, I mean, at the half distance then, we're effectively now where we were before we pit in this Grand Prix. So we've done a pretty good job on the undercut, but obviously we're going to lose that a bit of time by pitting again. But yeah, I don't think the two-stop is definitely not any worse on F123. It's just whether we can try and make it better for ourselves still is the difficult one. There we go, Oscar Piastri into the pit lane then. So yeah, we're going to peel in probably the end of 22, I reckon, as that's a nice line through the final chicane. And there we go, for the first time today, we're going to be inside the top 10 then. We're going to be pretty close with Lewis Hamilton was the king of Canada in years gone by, as we're actually going to come out just in front of the Merc. I'm sure he won't be too pleased about that. I've only just realised Hamilton flew past me and I didn't even commentate on it. Apparently I can't even do my job during this race, but another 2 places gained then. I'm to the lofty heights of P7. But George Russell is probably about to do the same to me as Lewis did. Maybe I'll commentate over that one. Lando Alonso, new fast lap of the day then, so clearly the Spaniard's still got a fair old chunk of pace. Hamilton goes even faster though, and George Russell flies past me in the process. Going to box at the end of next lap, so hopefully we can keep Gasly at bay by then. Well, we have just about been able to keep Gasly at bay then as we come to the end of 22. Ferrari peeling into the pit lane. That's not good if we've gone for the same strategy as Ferrari here, but anyway, make sure we get the car slowed down. Oh, a lot of front locking that time. Turn the tyres into 50 pence pieces in the process. But yeah, where are we going to re-emerge then in this GP? We're going to be at around Lando Norris, I think, in the second half of this race. I mean, it depends on whether we get held up in the stops again. That one was better, so that's not too bad. Yeah, we're going to be very, very close to Lando Norris as we head back out of the pit lane. But obviously we're going to be on fresher, quicker tyres to the end of this race. But yeah, 17th place for us. Are points still a possibility? I think Lando Norris has got the bit between his teeth late on in the afternoon, so we are still rocking up though to the back of the McLaren. But yeah, he's also taken a fair old chunk of time at the cars in front of him. Hopefully a nice simple DRS pass. Whoa! Oh, Lando very, very early on the brakes there, down into the hairpin, almost locked up and ran into the back of our fellow Brit, but surely we're going to be able to get the run off the corner. Carlos Sainz new fastest lap. There's a lot of other drivers trying the 2-stop then this afternoon as to the inside of the McLaren will go. Even more cars peeling into the pit lane then, which might make my life a little bit easier. Plenty of curb on the exit. Nico Hulkenberg in. So we're up into 15th place and I'm looking on the mini-map. I think it's that rogue Alpine of Esteban Ocon that is currently in 10th. They're a long, long way up, but we are going to be quicker. 7 then, we are really getting into the late stages here in Montreal. Well, I must admit, this race has absolutely flown by up to this point. Trying to use as little battery as we possibly need to get around Zhou Guanyu then as we head down the back straight. Can we hook it up right the way around? Yes, we can. Another place gain then late on. Albon next up on the old hit list. Alex Albon then next up. We are really still closing in on a rapid rate of knots on a lot of these AI at the moment. And Bottas not too far in front of the Williams to the inside. No, Albon. Oh, Alex Albon really getting his elbows out there. Got to try and make sure we get a run off the corner. I don't want to be sat behind him for another lap at the speed that we were able to close in. Can we have a look down the inside of turn 1? Yes, we absolutely will there in a very, very aggressive move just to about keep the car on the circuit. And there we go, we're through and up into P13. That has taken a lot out of the tyres. And it would appear, yeah, that is going to make things a lot more difficult late on in the day. Going to make trying to get runs on Valtteri Bottas and other cars a lot bigger of a challenge. But we can't give up. We've just got to grit our teeth and get on with it. A little bit of curb there on the way in, but a much better run than we got on Alex Albon 1 lap prior. But this is where we need the DRS there. Valtteri Bottas going to try and go defensive, but you know what? We'll try it again just like we did on Albon. Oh, so close to contact between myself and the flying Finn there, but round the outside we'll go through turn 2. We've still got the extra grip at the moment, but 6 laps to go. 8 seconds up to Esteban Ocon. I'm not convinced. 3 laps to go then. The gap to Oscar Piastri down to less than 3 seconds, so it might be close between myself and the Australian before the end of this. But yeah, Ocon, unless something happens. That's not the line. Yeah, unless something happens to Esteban Ocon, I think points are just once again going to be a bit too far away. Here we are then, starting the final lap of the Canadian Grand Prix then. Oscar Piastri just out of reach still at the moment. Thanks for that, Mark. But yeah, you know what? 2-stop, absolutely the way to go around here, I reckon. I don't think we would be running this close to the points had we gone with the same strategy as the AI. They really have pushed once again this weekend. Feel like I might just have overstretched the tyres slightly in the first and final stint. But you know what? We're trying to push for points. We've got to go for it sometimes. We've got to be prepared to take those risks, as you can see how much we're fighting the car underneath us on this final lap. But yeah, to be less than 5 seconds away come the end of a Grand Prix again, Whoa, the signs are promising as we slap the wall. Max Verstappen, though, will take his third Grand Prix victory of the season there. Red Bull back on top, back-to-back race victories for them. Charles Leclerc P2. Perez will actually get Alonso, I think, within the last couple of laps there. I was about to mention that we'd slated Aston Martin at the start of this weekend, but Alonso had almost come good there with a podium. P4, not bad for them, ahead of both Mercs and Carlos Sainz. But yeah, rounding through the final chicane then for the final time, it's P12 in the end from 18th on the grid. Not perfect, but we can be pretty happy.
And that's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
So as they climb out of the car, the Red Bull team are ready and waiting to celebrate a thoroughly deserved win. So Natalie, what do you think helped them deliver this result?
I really feel the track layout, combined with the track temperatures we saw today, suited their car. These cars come alive when the tyres are just at the right temperature, and the driver did a great job managing that as well. They just look so comfortable out there. It's like anything, it always looks so easy when it all just clicks.
Red Bull put up an outstanding fight for the front position today, and it's great to see it paid off for them. They do so much for the sports that you can't help but be delighted by today's race win. Let's see how the driver's standings have changed. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. So then, Natalie Pinkham, who would you rank as your driver of the day?
I have to give it to Miss Monaco. It was absolute chaos out there today, but this driver emerged with such a cool demeanour. And that is the sign of a great race.
Let's move on to the constructors. And pulling further ahead in the standings, it's Red Bull. Well, what an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
Well, there we are then, the end of the Canadian Grand Prix, and the top three there, finishing in the exact reverse order where they started. Alonso 4th to 4th for him, ahead of Hamilton and George Russell there. Sainz beating out our lone Canadian of Lance Stroll there. And again, another weekend where it is the big five teams picking up all of the points there. Enzo Fittipaldi down in 19th there, another pretty disappointing result by my teammate. But yeah, not many of us. I mean, it was Hulkenberg, myself, Sainz and Perez on the two-stop strategies, and yeah, some of us had much more success with it than others did. Championship-wise, though, gap of the top, 46 points now between Perez and Max Verstappen there. You can see, yeah, battle going on for P2, battle going on for P4 as well there between Russell, Sainz and Lewis Hamilton. So, honestly, at the moment, it's looking pretty much identical to the end of 2022's little fights that were kicking about there. We remain in P12, of course, pretty much, yeah, every driver ahead of us in the championship score points there, with the exception of Lando. Norris constructors-wise, Red Bull open up that gap to 81 points there. Ferrari build up a little bit ahead of Mercedes once again, but I think that's going to be the battle to watch out for throughout the rest of the season. Alpine re-jump McLaren as well in the battle for P5. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed as well, and we will be back tomorrow then when Formula 1 returns to, I think it's the Styrian Mountains. We'll be back ready for the Austrian Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. None of these videos would be possible without the help of our channel members, so a massive thank you to all of the names you see on your screens currently for helping support the channel. You can join them by clicking the join button down below, and yeah, thank you once again to everyone that continues all the insane support on my work.